If you had to throw a dart, what dart would you throw?
If I had to throw a dart, I would throw one at Eugenio Suarez, the Reds' third baseman. They've been rumored to be willing to move him. He's on a very, very team-friendly deal. I think like 4 years, something like $45 million for his age 29 to 32 years, and he's got a club option for $15 million the year after that. He, I think, led the National League in homers in 2019. If I have that correct, he had like 50 homers. Ended up passing Bellinger.
I know he's got the most home runs from the third base position over the last like 4 or 5 years, ahead of Arenado and the likes of that. So he's, I'd have to go back and check specifically, but yeah, it's a big number from the home run side.
Yeah, so he's someone that I would absolutely target, just for that contract flexibility. Is if he's putting up maybe not star level performance, but all-star level performance on that kind of deal, that gives you the flexibility to give Corey Seager a big extension, give Cody Bellinger a big extension, give Walker Buehler a big extension. I think you can sense my theme here. Because they're going to have to lock up those guys sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my philosophy. And I don't think the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman is definitely not as simple-minded as me. But if you just think about like sort of the left side of your infield and what is the dollar amount that we're comfortable spending on these two positions, if you can lock up a guy like Suarez for $10 to $12 million a year for the next 4 to 5 years, and that opens you up to the $25 to $28 million that Corey Seager's probably going to demand a year from now. And all of a sudden you say, okay, we're going to pay $40 million for the left side. And those two give you unbelievable production for those numbers. Whereas if you have to go trade for a guy like Arenado, who's making $30 million on his own, maybe that makes it harder to justify the $30 million that it's going to cost Corey Seager. So yeah, I like the Suarez. I mean, from a prospect perspective, obviously the cost would be high on the acquisition of a guy like Eugenio Suarez. I mean, I keep throwing Keibert Ruiz's name around just because he's a top prospect with no real obvious place to go with Will Smith there and kind of holding it down. I mean, is that where you sort of lean as far as, hey, if we're going to have to make an acquisition, make a splash? I mean, everybody rumors the Dodgers, whether it's Suarez or Luis Castillo or Josh Hader, whoever. Like, there's always stars being thrown around in trades. Is Ruiz, one of the first names that comes in talks on that front, do you think?
I think so, but whether they actually moved him is a different question. I wrote a piece a couple years ago when the Dodgers were heavily linked to Felipe Vasquez, and Ruiz was one of the big names in those talks. I wrote about, I believe it was the 2017 Dodgers, and they had Austin Barnes and Yasmani Grandal both playing at on a per at bat basis like a top 5 catcher, and that gave them such a huge advantage over other teams because every game they were starting a guy who's a top 5 or 10 catcher in baseball, at least for that season. And with Ruiz and Smith, you have the possibility of recreating that. And we know even for top flight catchers, even for JT Realmuto, Will Smith, those guys aren't going to play 162 games a year like you would a center fielder or a shortstop. Yeah. And so you're going to have to throw the backup in there. You're going to have to give them rest. And if your backup can play at a starter's level, that's just another small advantage you can get over the other teams in baseball. So I don't think trading Ruiz is a must no matter what Will Smith does, especially because we're getting the DH now. Yeah. Probably, it seems like. You can find ways to get both of them suitable at bats and even Austin Barnes at bats. So I don't think trading him's a must, but he is a guy who would come up just because the Dodgers are loaded at catcher.
Yeah, that's a great point. And thanks for reminding me about Austin Barnes' glory days back in 2017 when he was like a 400 on-base percentage guy, and the future seemed so bright for Austin Barnes. But anyways, well, hey, Justin, we appreciate your time. Like I said, I mean, I love to learn about the prospects and international signings and that kind of thing. So I appreciate guys like you who keep up to speed on that kind of thing and are plugged in. So it's exciting news for the Dodgers. Like we said, they had 2 of the top 8 international free agents last week. These are guys that are top 10 to 25-ish prospects in the Dodger system immediately as 17-year-olds. We've got some exciting news with Michael Busch and some other prospects. So like I said, Justin, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you keeping up to speed with this, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the offseason. Hopefully we've got some news that we could talk about sometime between now and opening day. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as we leave, I'm going to leave you with the words of Vin Scully because there's no better way to leave.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball.